Jeepies, I'm your host Sid, and welcome to Do Talking to Me's Scooby-Doo's Day. This time I'll be talking about Scooby-Doo Where Are You Episode 4, Mind Your Own Business. Episode 4 is the first of many detours in the series, in a literal sense. It sees the gang for the first time stretching beyond the borders of their hometown via the Mystery Machine. The gang ends up lost due to Shaggy's ineptitude as a navigator, never give your map to dog food eating beatniks, and the gang wind up sidetracked from whatever their ultimate destination was at an old abandoned mining town, Gold City.
Gold City Guest Ranch. Vacancy.
Well, maybe we can spend the night there.
The big burly ginger, Big Ben, who runs the local inn, is friendly enough despite the lack of business, and when the gang asks the diminutive assistant at the ranch why there are no guests, he responds by saying it's because of the Miner 49er, an old prospector's ghost haunting the nearby town.
And he can't rest until he finds the last vein of gold.
I would have personally guessed the lack of customers was due to how run down the inn is, but that's just me.
These sure are nice rooms.
While in Gold City, the gang decide to make the most of their unplanned vacation by checking out the ghost town and also scrounging up a mystery while they're at it. It isn't long before the gang encounters the Miner 49er himself, mostly in a few very brief instances, and he mostly just seems to be an annoyance, or at worst, a minor threat. Pun definitely not intended, and I'm sorry I stumbled into it. I know this is a Scooby-Doo show, but the puns in the actual series are enough. I have to admit my bias here. Mind Your Own Business is, to me, one of the lesser episodes of the original series, ranking as one of my least favorites. Not that it doesn't try its best with what's there, it's just not one of the more memorable entries for a variety of reasons. The key weakness of the episode is where most episodes live and die by, and that's the villain, the Miner 49er, who doesn't feel like a fully realized antagonist, and he's barely ever encountered in the episode. The Miner is supposedly a ghost, but there's nothing vaguely ghost-like about him. He just looks like a guy, implying that the Miner as a ghost could have been a last-minute thing. This was early in the series, and it was possible that this was indeed an experimentation with having normal criminals who might just be disguised. More of a Hardy Boys / Nancy Drew situation where there's just some smuggling operation. That's the only reason I can come up with for why Miner 49er is so half-hearted. Well, actually, another reason could have just been concerns that the show might be too scary for kids. The mystery element of the episode is also pretty undercooked compared to the last episode. There are only two suspects who could be the Miner who aren't seen again past their introductions until the end. Big Ben, the red herring-like guy who is roughly the Miner's height, and Hank, the guy who dresses exactly like the Miner 49er and tells the kids about the legend.
The Miner 49er.
It feels like the characters really push for there to be more of a mystery and go to a lot more trouble than what would be necessary in this particular situation.
Like I know what we'll find.
What?
Ghosts.
As for the location of the episode, the ghost town is a nice spooky setting, but it kind of feels like it's only there to add a bit of flavor to the story. The second half of the episode sees the gang descend into the nearby mine, and it's a mine. Repeating stone walls don't quite equate to visual variety, which is something the show up to this point generally provided. The episode does make some use out of the location the best it can with the expected Minecart Chase, which is kind of fun, with Scooby ending up in the miner's cart somehow. Animation-wise, this episode is a little weaker, with the characters getting noticeably off-model, with Velma suddenly wearing lipstick. Ugh. A notable weird animation choice is Fred twisting his head 180 degrees for an extended period of time, which has since become one of the many Scooby meme images. It's like he's an owl or something.
Wouldn't you know it? Danger-prone Daphne fell into a mine shaft.
In the end, the gang uses the Miner 49er's PA equipment to their advantage and stage a fake runaway train using Shaggy's sound effects and a mine cart's headlight.
Listen to that Shaggy go. And Scooby's great at being a train.
Of course, in typical Scooby fashion, the trap backfires in some way, nearly killing both Scooby-Doo and the supposed ghost, who turns out to be Hank, the innkeeper's assistant whose only disguise was stilts, a hat, and a beard.
Then this can only be one person. Hank!
The gang still sounds surprised. I think they just pitied the poor guy, who wanted to force Big Ben out of business so he could keep the profits from the hidden oil buried on the property all to himself.
Now instead of being rich, he's in jail.
Episode 4 is not one of the highlights of the original series, but I don't believe any of these classic shows are bad, just some are better than others. This was very early on in the series, and it's clear that they're still trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and certain things in this episode don't quite work. Compared to the episodes to come later, mind your own business just doesn't quite compare. I give it 2 boxes of Scooby snacks out of 5. Want a double dose of Scooby every Tuesday? Support the channel on Patreon or channel memberships and you'll get a bonus episode commentary. The link to this episode's commentary on Patreon is in the description below. If you like this episode, like it, and if you loved it, subscribe for more and click the bell icon to keep track of when future videos and live streams go live. I'd like to thank the true Wolfulite supporters of the Dr. Wolfula Patreon and channel memberships for their pledges. Their support is greatly appreciated and helps the channel continue to grow. Thanks, guys. See you all in the next episode of Do Talking to Me. Jeepies.